Hey everyone, welcome back to the By Way of Commandment podcast. This is our weekly Hebrew edition. We're going to look at a couple words today here in Hebrew and kind of talk about what they mean, and I'm going to give some of my thoughts. And now, as you know, I've been studying Hebrew for a little over a year now, and I've been struggling at it quite a bit, but I've been plugging away and doing my best to learn Hebrew so that I can study and read the Hebrew Bible. That's really the main purpose of my reasons for learning Hebrew. And I wanted to share some of that journey with each of you. So I hope that for those of you who are at least interested in learning Hebrew, or even just interested in learning some very basic Hebrew in the Hebrew Bible, that you'll come on this journey with me and we'll learn together. So I want to look at this is Genesis chapter 4, verse 1. We're not going to read this chapter. We're not going to even read the full verse. I just want to look at a couple words and become familiar with some of these words in the Hebrew Bible. And the words that we're going to look at today are Adam and Eve. And I know that might sound a little strange why I would pick Adam and Eve to talk about, because we're not talking about Adam and Eve, the individuals in the story in Genesis. We're talking about the words Adam and the words Eve in Hebrew and what that means. And so I want to get into this. So we have here in Genesis 4:1, and we see this all throughout Genesis as referencing Adam. The name Adam here, Adam, is, if you can follow my cursor here, made by this word here, ha'adam. And specifically in chapter 4, verse 1 here, the verse starts with and Adam, and so there's the vav at the beginning of the word, made by this letter here, vav, meaning and, when connected at the beginning of a word. And so we have vaha'adam, or and Adam, and then we go on through the verse. Now, the actual name Adam, or Adam here, is not what we typically see in the first few chapters of Genesis. In fact, it is explicitly Ha-Adam is what is being used in these chapters. And so Ha-Adam is actually an interesting name. As we look at the Hebrew Bible, we see that Adam is referenced as the first man on earth. Eve is his wife. But we know from the creation story in Genesis 1 and 2 that Adam is formed out of the dust of the earth. He's made out of a tabernacle of clay that's formed from the dust of the earth. And Ha-Adam actually means this earth or dirt or clay. It's the actual dust of the earth that is formed to make Adam. The name for that earth is Ha-Adam. And so we see that Adam is a play on words with the dirt or the ground or earth that he was created from or formed from. But we also have Adam as Adam, which quite literally just means mankind. We refer to Adam, the man, the individual, by the name Adam. But the name Adam in Hebrew, Adam, actually literally just means humanity or mankind. And so we see a little play on words here going on, 3 different meanings, all tied into the idea of the man Adam, as represented here in the Genesis story. If we go down a little bit further, we'll see here Eve. So we have Adam, we've mentioned. Now we have Eve, his wife. And it even says right here in verse 1, it says Eve, his wife. So we're talking in this verse specifically about Adam and Eve having relations and Eve conceiving and bearing children. But I want to look at what the name Eve means. We have in Hebrew, Eve would be pronounced Hava. Which is a little bit different than I think what most of us would think it would be. Since Adam is Adam, we would think Eve might be similar to Eve in some way, but it's Hava. And Hava actually means life, or even mother of living, which for many of us Latter-day Saints who go to the temple and who regularly go through the endowment, the presentation of the endowment in the temple, we see this every time we go, that Eve is so named because she is the mother of all living. And so this is the name Eve, or Hava, literally means mother of living or life, just simply life or life-giving. Now we have, in talking about Adam and Eve, the man and woman, we actually have two specific names for man and woman. In the Hebrew Bible, in Hebrew, man would be Ish, and woman would be Isha. And so we have Ish and Isha, meaning man and woman. However, as I mentioned before, through the first several chapters of Genesis, throughout the creation story and the story of Adam and Eve, Adam is not referred to always as Ish, as the man or as a man, but rather as Ha'adam, which means mankind. And so embodied in the name Adam isn't just the name of man because he's a man, but literally mankind, because the entirety of mankind is embodied in the story of Adam and Eve. And so we have Adam, or Adam, and Eve, or Hava, and they, through this union, bear children and bring life into the world, and that's where we get the human race. And I want to point out that I think it's important to understand, especially in the temple context, and this would have also been readily understood by the Hebrews, those who actually wrote and copied the biblical texts, that Adam and Eve, though they may very well have been real individuals who lived on this earth, were also representing mankind in the great drama of humanity. And so there's a symbolism there. There's a metaphor or an allegory that is being played out in the story of Adam and Eve. And I think the recent temple changes to the endowment presentation make this much more clear, that while we believe that Adam and Eve may very well have been actual individual human beings, the first human beings on this planet, the Garden of Eden, and everything that went on there are may very well have been historical events in some sense. We also get the sense from the biblical writers and the Israelite people, and now in modern times from our own temple service, that Adam and Eve can also be readily available to us as an allegory or a metaphor for our own lives, that we represent Adam and Eve respectively as we go through the temple and as we partake of the ordinances and make the covenants there in the temple. We're literally following along in the same journey as Adam and Eve. And so when we think of Adam and Eve, not just as individuals, but as we also think of the story of Adam and Eve as being representative of life and the marriage of life and mankind and the journey that we're on back to the Father, I think we can form some greater meaning from that story. And with that, I'll end this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.